Good evening and welcome to a special presentation on KLAM, the 2021 Municipal Candidate Forum. As part of our desire to keep you informed with the approach of the March 2nd municipal election, KLAM and KCDV were pleased to join with the Cordova Chamber of Commerce and the Cordova Times to present an online Zoom gathering this past Friday. And in order to make sure the content was available to as many people as possible, including those who are not Zoom or Facebook users, we're bringing you that forum here tonight as a public service from your local radio stations. The program runs about 2 hours and has not been edited or altered in any way. KLAM is glad you could join us, and we hope you'll become a more informed voter for both school board and city council elections by staying with us for the Municipal Candidate Forum on AM 1450.
We are live here with the Cordova Candidate Forum, and we have with us today J.R. Lewis. He is going to be our moderator today. He is from the Cordova Radio, which is KLAM KCDV. He is one of the partners that put on this event, along with myself. I'm Kathy Renfelt from the Cordova Chamber of Commerce, and we also have, as one of our partners, Zachary Smith from the Cordova Times. So we're going to start off, we're going to have from 5 to 6 p.m. we're going to focus on City Council, and from 6 to 7 we're going to focus on School Board. JR is going to introduce everyone and make it clear what the rules are for this candidate forum. So I will go ahead and mute myself and
all right. Good to see everybody, and again, starting with City Council here, we have Melina Meyer, Ken Jones, Ann Schaefer, and Karen Perry. Now, I didn't see a hyphen in there, so is it okay to be Karen Perry, or is Karen Deaton Perry more appropriate? You can just, yeah.
I normally go by Karen Deaton Perry.
Okay, that sounds good. Just in terms of ground rules, and Cordova's very good at doing this kind of thing. I've been watching them for nearly 30 years now, and they rarely explode into the chaos that can ensue at higher levels of government. But just so everybody knows what we expect, up to 2 minutes to respond to each of our questions. Got a little timer in my window there that you can keep an eye on. And we'll be enforcing that with the mute button, so please respect those time limits in fairness to all that are participating. We'll ask that you stay on the topic posed in the question and not use, for example, answer the question with 30 seconds and then and now I'd like to circle back and use the remainder of my time kind of thing. If we can just stay on topic, that's a little bit, that's more respectful for the audience. And of course, we expect everybody to be respectful, which again is rarely a problem in Cordova forums anyway, but I'm sure you're all aware of the circuses that have happened at the national and sometimes state level, and so not looking for that here. As I mentioned before we went on Facebook, the order for candidates to answer each question was determined by computer randomization. All the names basically went in a digital hat, and then the algorithm sorted out who'd speak in what order, so that, like everything in this event, is intended to be completely impartial and work best for everybody. So I guess I would ask quick if there are any questions. Looks good. All right. And in that case, as I turn the page, we're going to start with the famous softball question of all softball questions. Why are you running for this city council seat? And first up for that one is Ken Jones. Kathy, if you could give him the unmute thing. So, Ken,
Okay.
2 minutes.
I am running for city council to make the harbor the top priority of the city and to continue to push that project to the finish line. I'm also running to bring a small business voice back to the city council. And, my work on there was not done during my last term. And so I would like to get back on and carry the torch. a little bit further. Thank you.
All right. And a second for that one as I reset the malfunctioning timer, which hopefully will only happen once. Karen Deaton Perry.
JR, you're going to have to unmute yourself.
Oh, look at that. I'm just so confused by all this technology. Okay. Sorry, I had to mess around with my timer there. Karen, you are next.
Alrighty, my name is Karen Deaton Perry, as before mentioned, and I am running for City Council because I want to be on the front lines of helping to create a post-pandemic economy that's going to help Cordova win. I've got some really great ideas to help incentivize some business approaches and really help create, again, an economy that's going to help all of us be successful. I am a small business owner here in town. I own the Kayak Cafe up on 2nd Street, and we are really proud of some of the things that we've been able to do, not only during the pandemic, but just as a new business coming into Cordova. And I would like to thank Cordova for their support by turning around and offering myself up as somebody who can sit on the council seat and help support people wanting to do the same thing and support other business owners. I would also like to be able to help put the harbor project up at the forefront of the agenda as well. I think that's something that's really important, that we take care of our fishing fleet. They're a huge part of our community and somebody that we need to really help out and make sure that our harbor is in a working order. I would also like to do this in order to help some of our winter fisheries and help incentivize some things to open up in order to make that a successful thing for us, and really just work completely together to make sure that our economy is in a working order, and it's going to help us win and help us move forward and make sure that we are going to create an environment for not only our business owners, but our fishing fleet and all of our locals to be able to really make Cordova win. So again, that's why I'm going to run for City Council. Thank you.
All righty. And then we move on to Melina next. Why are you running?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm running for re-election because I feel like I can still bring more to a second term. I was elected in 2018, and I've served as the vice mayor since 2019, going to the different AML election training and just kind of really learning how government works. It was a big learning curve that first term, and I'm really excited to see some of the projects that we've started and continuing them to be finished. The harbor is a huge undertaking, and it has been our top priority, and I plan on keeping it as a top priority. It's our industry in our town, and just like everybody will say, we're all connected to the fishing industry, and somehow it's top priority for Cordova, and it is for me too. The comprehensive plan that we completed about a year ago, which seems like a lifetime with COVID, but I was going through that today, and that project was an input from everybody from Cordova, and I think I agree with everything that's in there basically, because that's our plan and that's how we should keep moving forward. So I plan to keep that comprehensive plan in the forefront and start looking forward again, because this past year feels like a lifetime. So I hope to see it through the recovery.
Oh, there we go. And then, obviously, we'll finish this with Ann Schaefer. Why is it that you are running for City Council?
Hi, yeah, thanks, JR. Thanks, Kathy. My name's Ann Schaefer, and I'm running for re-election to council because I think I represent a part of the community that isn't necessarily reflected otherwise on the council. I'm a young woman, I'm a scientist, and I work at a nonprofit. So I understand the challenges of working within limited budgets and, needing to think creatively and collaboratively in order to get things done. And, really the reason I'm running is because I like contributing and helping out where I feel like my skills can be useful. Some of the skills that I think I bring to the table on council are that I'm a good listener, I'm level-headed, I'm empathetic, I'm respectful of others, and I'm a critical thinker, and I'm dedicated to the position. And similar to what others have said before, like the harbor is our #1 priority. And one thing I'm really excited about this year or moving forward is being able to look forward. As Melina mentioned, this last year, it was really all about staying ahead of COVID and just dealing with what was being thrown at us. And so I'm really excited about the opportunities ahead to look forward and grow as a community. One thing that I do really like about Cordova and serving on our city council is that it's not about politics. It's really just people, we're just Cordovans, community members getting together and working together to figure out what's best for the community. I don't have any special agendas. I just really like Cordova, and I want to do my part to keep it a great place to live. So I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to have served on council for the last 3 years, and I'm excited about the prospect of serving for 3 more and what we can get done. So that's why I'm running for re-election. Thanks.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody, and I hope that gave folks that are not familiar with you an opportunity to to get a better feel for what you're about. Now we'll move into some of the more specifics. Real quick question for Kathy, a technical question. I have a noise gate on this microphone. If you don't want to have to mute and unmute me, or does that happen automatically? Have you been muting me each time?
I've been muting you each time. But,
okay, if you want to leave mine open, that'll save a step in there, because this mic basically auto mutes. So. Okay.
And I've asked folks on Facebook, and I'm monitoring comments on there. If any of you hear an echo or any problems with voice quality or picture or lag or anything, please leave a comment. I am monitoring those. So thanks, everyone.
Great. Okay, so our first more specific question is, how would you encourage diversification of Cordova's economy in a way that doesn't jeopardize current industries? And we'll go to Melina first on that one.
Okay, thanks. So as far as Cordova's economy goes, we all know that it's heavily on the commercial fishing side of things, and it's very seasonal in a lot of aspects. The other side of it is the governmental structure of it. We have the Coast Guard, Forest Service, Fish and Game. All those entities bring more jobs into Cordova. So I see a good path forward to diversifying our economy is, first, we have to keep what we have, because we've been hit really hard with the loss of ferry, the state loss of revenue coming in, and now COVID, the oil spill before that. So we're just kind of always trying to catch up, but now's the time to recover from those things and keep that momentum going that we had. So we need to support and help our existing economy. We need to expand the economy we currently have in different sections, like the fishing industry. We can expand that into winter. There's been some really exciting fisheries prospects happening there. With heliskiing, out at Orc Lodge, they were able to expand theirs a couple months earlier in the season. Those things help. Prospect of more government, good paying jobs coming in would be really helpful. The Science Center with their new big building, more jobs coming in that way. And then looking into ways where we can support new businesses coming in and new organizations that want to make Cordova their home. So there's a bunch of plans I'm going to plug the comprehensive plan again, because if you go through that, it has incentives. I think we need to be looking at all of that and leave nothing off the table, explore all avenues.
All right. Thank you very much, Melina. Ken Jones, you'll be next. The question again is, how would you encourage diversification of Cordova's economy in a way that doesn't jeopardize current industries?
Thank you, JR. So diversification of our economy is actually really a really important topic to me, and I think I've spoken a lot about it in the past. Number one, we need to, like Melina said, protect what we have. That includes our fisheries and our harbor. Right now, the condition of our harbor is driving fishermen out of town, and that's just unacceptable. In addition to, rebuilding the harbor and keeping what we have, we need to incentivize businesses to privately invest into remodeling and developing their infrastructure, primarily on Main Street, but also in housing units across the town. So to get more diverse group of business on Main Street right now, we've, in my lifetime, gone from every storefront on Main Street being occupied by a for-profit business to half of them being occupied by nonprofit businesses. And not that that's a bad thing, they'd otherwise be empty, but that just goes to show that the health of our economy, since, like Melina said, the oil spill has been going down. We used to have Flynn's, we used to have, AC used to be on Main Street, and then now it's the Watershed Project, and we lost Ambrosia, we lost the Flying Dutchman, Frenchies. The list, I actually had a list of it. There's like 37 businesses that have shut down just since I've lived here, and it's unacceptable. So we need to continue to promote and protect what we have. And as far as more diversification, like Karen said, we need winter fisheries. How do we do that? We need to incentivize our processors to stay open in the winter. One idea I have for that is a cold storage out by the airport where they can store their connexes full of previously frozen pink salmon, H&G pink salmon, and then bring them back into town in the shoulder season and do their secondary processing here in Cordova instead of sending it overseas to China. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Oop. And next, this will be for Ann Schaefer. Same question. How would you encourage diversification of Cordova's economy in a way that doesn't jeopardize current industries?
Yeah, so as you've said, and Melina and Kenneth both said, we need to diversify by also supporting the businesses that we have in town. So some of the ways I can see assisting and supporting diversification and also supporting our current businesses are advocating for winter fisheries, like has been mentioned, winter fisheries during the shoulder season as well. And we've had a lot of success recently with the shrimp and crab fisheries, so continued support for those. Mariculture development is really expanding, and it's a big priority from the state right now. So supporting those efforts and expansion in a way that's sustainable for the ecosystem is a great opportunity for Cordova. I think as a council and a community, we should continue to develop and promote small-scale tourism opportunities in Cordova. On council, we've advocated for and been successful in getting small cruise ships to come to town. There were supposed to be a handful that came this past summer, but of course those were canceled. But I know those conversations and logistics are still ongoing, and that would be great for, guides, our local businesses, our restaurants, for, artists. Obviously, continuing to advocate for reliable flight and ferry service to Cordova will help diversify the economy. If people can get here for our festivals or for conferences, that's going to make it easier for businesses to stay open and be successful. And as has been mentioned before, I've also supported efforts to expand heli skiing access in the National Forest around Cordova. So that's also a great wintertime boost to our economy and to some of our local businesses. So maintaining partnerships with Points North and the Forest Service is going to be important moving into the future. And yeah, again, I think maintaining our partnerships that we have so that our schools, we have good schools, our good hospitals, and that'll bring people to town and keep them here as well.
All right. Thank you very much. And finally, to Karen Deaton Perry, same question. How would you encourage diversification of Cordova's economy in a way that doesn't jeopardize current industries?
Hey, yes. Okay, so this is a question I love because this is one of the main things that I would bring to the council as a councilwoman. I've got some really awesome ideas for this thing in specific. One of the things that I've actually been talking about on Facebook is how we can start incentivizing winter businesses to be open. And you guys can check out my post on there for some more in-depth details about how that would work. I'd like to incentivize new businesses to open with a sales tax rebate plan, as well as winter businesses to be open, both new and existing. I actually, since last August, I believe, I've been working on a project with the Chamber of Commerce. Kathy, you know about this, to diversify our economy with a new industry. I want to work on getting destination weddings. This be a place where you think Cordova, Alaska, and you think, okay, destination wedding. And this is one way that I think we can start just another separate part of our tourism, and just a really easy way to just have a separate way to just diversify our economy even further. Talking back again about our winter fisheries, I think it would be really awesome to help incentivize some smaller processors to open as well, kind of like 60 Degrees North, some locally owned places. I think it's going to be hard to incentivize the bigger businesses to open for our winter fisheries. But it all works together. Having those winter fisheries open works together with incentivizing those businesses that we've been open in the wintertime. And and a lot of what you said about going over like the adventure industry and having those things set up in place so that when and if the Shepherd Point project brings in big cruise lines, we have things in place locally owned where we can just go forward and move with those things. So that is how I want to diversify our economy here in Cordova.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that first round. And we can stay with Karen here because she gets to be first on our next question. And that one is, what can the city do to shore up Cordova's deteriorating harbor infrastructure?
Hey, yeah, another great question. Right now, I know we're working towards several grants towards that, and that is one of the main ways that I think we're working on grabbing some funding to be able to do that. And I think as a councilwoman, that's one of the ways that I want for us to keep moving forward, is to keep searching for grants, applying for grants, making sure that we have all of our ducks in a row when we're going for those grants. And I think we're doing an environmental report right now on some of those things for some of the grants that we're applying for. And I know Ken has a lot of good ideas for some of the grants that we're applying for as well. So moving forward with those funding solutions is going to be one of the big ways that we can make sure that this project is finished into completion. Now, I also want to go over how we can expand. I think it would be a great option for us to not only fix the harbor, but expand the harbor so we can make sure that our fishing fleet has room to grow. I think that would be a really awesome way that we can take care of our fishing fleet in that way. I think just making sure we're going for the grants and the funding and making sure that we've got a set plan in place where we're all on the same plan and we're going the same way, and making sure that this is something that we keep at the forefront and make sure that it's just there and ready to go and we're working towards it.
All right. Thank you very much. And, we go this 1, 2, hubba hubba. Next, we go to Ann. Same question. What can the city do to shore up Cordova's deteriorating harbor infrastructure?
You're muted, Anne.
There we go.
There it is.
There we go. So yes, the harbor is a really important resource and asset for our fishing fleet and for the whole community. And it's falling apart, and money is an issue. And so, as Karen referred to, the wheels really are starting to turn for making progress in this arena. We're the highest priority for a Tier 1 harbor grant from the state. And the governor included funding for that program in his bond proposal package this round. So that's a big first step. And so if that gets funded and moves through the legislature, that would be a great direction for us and good progress. Staff's also been putting a lot of time and effort into other federal grant applications like the Build Grant. And I know that they've been looking at past applications, and they did a breakdown on how they could improve them and make them better. And so that will be more competitive in the future. And so there's a lot of momentum, I think, on pursuing funds to build our harbor back up and make it more useful for our fleet and for our community. And beyond just the harbor itself, the waterfront that we have is a community asset. And so I'd like to see a revisit of our harbor plan to make sure that it's still accurate and reflects what the fishing fleet and the community needs. But I also think we should do some meaningful waterfront planning before we don't have any more waterfront left to plan. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ann. And next we will be going to Melina for the question again of what can the city do to shore up Cordova's deteriorating harbor infrastructure?
Yeah, for our harbor, it's our top priority, and I don't see it not becoming our top priority anytime soon. I think that we really need to think long term because our harbor is the center of our industry here in town. And we should never be in the position that we're in right now. Our harbor is falling into the water and we're a commercial fishing. So we shouldn't be in the spot that we're at, but we are. Unfortunately, the rebuild for the state hadn't been funded for the few years that we qualified for it. We were the only community that did qualify. We were the only community that put in, got high remarks, but there was no money in that fund previously. So now with it going through already in the governor's budget, things are looking good, and it's kind of like finally we get that grant. But we need to look long term because this is replacing what we currently have in one side of the harbor. We have the North Harbor and the South Harbor. So we need to replace, we need to maintenance, and we need to expand and then repeat. Cycle starts again, both sides. So maintenance, replace, expansion, repeat. It's our industry. It needs to be our top priority. And it's not going to be ending anytime soon, even once we get the rebuild done. So we just need to keep looking through the future, always have a plan. 5-year, 10-year plans aren't exactly fun to come up with, and they're hard to come up with, but we need to do that work and stick to it to see it done. I don't think any of us will disagree with anything with the harbor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And finally, of course, to Ken, what can the city do to shore up Cordova's deteriorating harbor infrastructure?
Thanks, JR. Well, this is obviously a subject that I am immensely passionate about. So the whole reason why I'm running for council is because I bring something to the table in the harbor discussions. Like my opponent and fellow candidates have referred to, that it's the city's number one priority. I would like to, I guess, ask them why did it become the city's number one priority? What was the reason for that? And I can tell you that I'm the one that pushed at the council level during my last term to make it the number one priority of the city. It took me years to get it to be the number one priority of the city and to get the momentum going in that direction. I've been working on this since 2011, both on Harbor Commission, and I ran for city council in 2013. I was not successful, finally got on in 2017, and I made the push. And until that point, we had not applied for a single grant. We have now applied for 2. There's 3 more. I have the packets. I've provided them to the city manager. She's working on them, and we're moving in the right direction finally. I'm going to have a video coming out that explains my step-by-step plan to get the city on the right track to get this harbor pushed over to the finish line. And I'm really excited about that. I'm working on it right now. It'll be on Facebook next week. That's, it's there's been a lot of progress made so far. We rebuilt the loading dock. We resurfaced the science center. We just got some 2016 disaster funds. We're doing a water project, but I also pushed for new cranes and rebuilding the 3-stage dock. So that's going to be coming up soon. Right now, the city has 2 different plans, and we need to combine those plans into a step-by-step plan moving forward. The city staff sent in 1 plan to the state and 1 plan to the feds, and I can just see this turning into a debacle if I don't get elected. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Ken. And thanks to everybody for taking on that question. We'll move to the next one now. Ann will be first on this one, and it is one that comes from the Chamber. By the way, I want to thank CDFU for some input on that one about the harbor. Near and dear to the Chamber, of course, is how do you feel that the city could better support businesses? Ann, we'll go to you.
Hi, okay, thank you. Well, as a year-round resident, I want businesses to succeed, and I want for Cordova to have a healthy year-round economy. I've it's been mentioned that there are maybe regulations that are really burdensome. So I would, if there are regulations that seem onerous to businesses, I'd be open to taking a look and working with staff and business owners to see how we can streamline that process. It'd be better for everyone on council to know what the process is for businesses. Another way that we can support is, I guess I don't know the parameters for the most recent federal CARES funding package, but if possible, I would like to see some of that relief go to our local businesses that have been hit hard by this last year and all the restrictions, especially those businesses that aren't open year round, so haven't been able to take advantage of the Cordova Cash Card program. Another way to support businesses is, again, through our community partnerships. We work with the Chamber, which has done a phenomenal job working with local businesses and connecting them with resources. Something the city could do is work with the Chamber to help identify state and federal incentive programs that might apply to our local businesses here, and then facilitate the application process and provide that type of expertise where needed. And then I know a big hurdle for businesses here in town is the cost of health care. It's a burden to businesses and individuals, and unfortunately the state Supreme Court recently ruled that small businesses can't pool together, which is too bad. But really, Alaska has the highest healthcare costs in the world, so it's a federal issue, it's a state issue, it has huge impacts at the local level. And so I don't have a solution, but advocating to our state and federal representatives and just letting them know how big of a problem this is, I think is a really important thing for our city council to do.
All right. Thank you so much. Ken, we'll be going to you next. And again, the question is, how do you feel the city could better support businesses?
Thanks, JR. So this is another topic that I'm insanely passionate about, and I've spoken to a lot in the past. And, I've got a couple of ideas, and I think I'm not going to have enough time. You haven't started my timer yet, so that's awesome. But it's going to be really hard to get to all of it in 2 minutes. So I just urge people to check out my Facebook page, my campaign Facebook page, and check out my next videos that I've got coming out, because it's going to be pretty great. I've got all broken down step by step how I, as a city council member, can help push the city in the direction to support businesses. So number one, I want to see property tax incentives. That's something the city has complete control over. And many other communities do this, tax abatements and incentives for doing property improvements and opening new businesses. It's something it's not reinventing the wheel, just be bringing it here and incentivizing these businesses to expand, to offer new services or open up. And this is, we've already got a couple of those on the books right now. We've got the sales tax exemption card for building permits, and we've also got a historical facade tax abatement in place for the Main Street district, where if somebody rebuilds their building and makes it look like it used to look back in the early 1900s, then they would get some money off their property tax. Another thing I think we really need to tackle that would help all businesses is the housing problem in this town. I mean, why is it that a 2 or 3 bedroom house is $400,000? It's ridiculous. We need people in this town to go in and shop. And if they don't have a place to live, or if they can't afford to live here, then they're not going to be in these businesses and spending money. And so that's one of the biggest things that I would really like to push for, is also property tax incentives for new housing developments, 4plexes, 6plexes, or just affordable housing. Get a new construction home that is reasonable. City needs to be pushing for private developers to buy these large tracts of land and punch roads in and put water lines in, instead of two blocking it and making it cumbersome and burdensome. My time's up. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. And we'll be visiting with Karen next. And the question again, how do you feel that the city could better support businesses?
Yes. Okay. So I have a few ideas on this as well. One of them, just going back to my incentivizing businesses plan. I think it would be an awesome gesture to new businesses that are opening, and again, the wintertime businesses that we'd like to incentivize. I think it would be really nice for us to be able to say, okay, we're here, we support you, we've got a plan, and for us doing that, we're going to incentivize you with that 0.5, or if you qualify for it, the 1% off of your sales tax that we are going to rebate to you either quarterly or by the end of the year, whatever ends up working out easily, just so that you can put that money towards buying new furniture for your business, or making payroll that month, whatever you need that money for, just to be able to say we have your back and we've got you. Another thing is for new businesses opening, I would love to really partner again with the chamber on this and make sure that any regulations or codes that we have are put together in a way, or even in a welcome packet for new business owners who are looking to open a business, where it's in a wording that makes sense to just the normal layman, and it's in a clear, concise pattern that says, okay, these are the steps to open a business. These are the rules and the laws that go with that, set in a clear, concise way. And we've got you supported. And I think the chamber actually does an exceptional job of coming behind and supporting our businesses. And they are just an excellent resource. And I would really love, as a councilwoman, to be able to partner with them and make sure that we are supporting our small businesses. And again, as a small businesswoman, this is something that I deal with on the regular. I want to make sure that we are not only supporting local businesses and the fisheries and the direct marketers that have involvement there, but everybody. So yeah, that's what I want to do.
All right. Thank you so much. And Melina, it will come as no surprise to you that you'll be finishing up with us on this one. How do you feel the city could better support businesses?
Yeah, thank you. I think there's a number of things that we could do to help support businesses. Opening the year round is extremely hard. I would say that a majority of our businesses on a normal year are local owned businesses, and that's great. And they choose to stay open because they want to offer year round employment for their employees, offer the service to the community. And sometimes that comes to a cost to the business. So we need to look at that, identify that, and do some incentives. If it's a sales tax, maybe incentive. I know that we've tried to mess with the sales tax a little bit on city council, and we've gotten a lot of pushback. But I think that would be great, any idea, incentives, and if we can really rally people behind it to support something like that, to make it easy for everybody to understand what it is. And make it useful. So we'd have to run those numbers to see how it works. But I think one area where the city could do some incentives is the property tax and utilities. If your business is mainly empty, but you're still paying for all the same water, sewer, garbage, those costs can really add up for a business, whether you're open or not open. And during this time when some of them are completely shut down, they're still paying those same costs to the city, which is unfortunate. So during this time, for part of our recovery, I think that we should do a hardship application. So businesses and individuals, anywhere where the funding available to help with the recovery, maybe there was a gap in service, maybe certain businesses in Cordova don't exactly fit the mold or fit those kind of expenses. So I think we need to first identify where those gaps were and help out all the businesses that we have now and the ones that we can keep open and keep employing people. And we need housing to employ people.
All right. Thank you very much, Melina, and to everybody again for another round of great responses to that. We're going to move on now to a question that will start with Ken, and that one is, what is the biggest challenge facing Cordova in 2021, and what is your plan to deal with it?
Okay, so yeah, I guess I was unmuted. Sorry about that. So my plan, so the number one thing facing us, I think right now is getting through the COVID pandemic and getting our businesses reopened. It's easy to sit here and say you're pro business, but then when you're sitting on council and you shut down all the businesses, actions speak louder than words. I'm sorry. I want to get people reopened. I want to get the restrictions lifted and get people, vaccinated. And, they've been doing a great job with the vaccines in this community. And I think that we need to really just take a hard look at that and say, you know what, now we can safely reopen here. and we can get these people back to work. We can get these businesses open. And I see that as going to be the number one priority for, council this spring is to get our economy back on its feet so it doesn't rely on these, bailout after bailout. As far as further down the road in 2021, a big challenge that we're all facing is just it's like an exponential exodus of fishing boats and fishing permits away from our community since 1972, and limited entry was in effect. 90% of the permits were Cordovans. Now we're down to 30%, and that's a huge problem when we're just getting our entire industry stripped out right from under us, because frankly other communities are doing better. Valdez has a new harbor. I know personally 3 boats that have gone over there and tied up permanently. Piswak, they don't even buy their fuel here anymore. They sent their landing craft over to Valdez now. And, we have a mass exodus of government jobs too, with budget cuts and everything at Fish and Game and in the Forest Service, Piswak. All these jobs are getting shipped over to Anchorage, and that's going to really adversely affect our community.
Okay, thank you, Ken. And next we will go to Karen on this one. What is the biggest challenge facing Cordova in 2021, and what's your plan to deal with it?
Yes. Okay. So I would actually agree with Ken. I think one of the biggest challenges that we have facing us is rebuilding our economy from back from COVID, and making sure that we are incentivizing our businesses to reopen. We're incentivizing those new businesses to open, as well as making sure that the businesses who are new, part of their business plan, I'm hoping, is that they are going to just start out from the very beginning. This is our plan. We are going to be open in the wintertime. That way, the city has a sales tax base that's going to be provided for 12 months out of the year, instead of the typical around 5 to 7 that a lot of our seasonal businesses are doing. And that way we can have those businesses open. We can rebuild our economy. We can start that nice foundation. We want to make sure that we have a foundation set. Everybody that was existing, we're back open, we're ready to go, and we have new businesses opening again. And my plan for that is, like I've said a couple times now, is to incentivize those businesses to open and to be open in the wintertime, and just to, again, help rebuild our economy. That's the main thing that I've been running on this entire time. Is I want to help build a post-pandemic economy that wins for Cordova. And I've mentioned a few of my plans already of how I want to get that done, how I want to diversify our economy, and just those different things, and partnering with people who are able to help us do that and help us do it well and with excellence. So yeah, that's pretty much my plan.
Okay, thank you very much. And next will be Melina on the question of what is the biggest challenge facing Cordova in 2021, and what is your plan to deal with it?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us with the state budget being lower, with less revenue coming in from oil. The city's been getting less money in turn. I'm really proud that we haven't raised any sales tax in the last few years. It's been some creative thinking and other ways to do that, but I hope that we can continue that. Now is not the time to be increasing the costs on our business or our residents to get our businesses going up and going. And so that challenge is hard because we have to put money into it for them not to pay for some of these things to help with recovery. And also the money that we're receiving in revenue has been going down every year that I've been on council. So we need to use the CARES money. If we get money, it looks like that we're going to as a city, we need to use it carefully, something that's going to help us with our recovery and our long-term recovery. So I say all options are on the table. No idea is a bad idea, and let's work through them because we're Cordovans. We've been through these hardships before. This one happens to be one where the rest of the world is going through too. So we're not left on our own. It's not like this thing where nobody else can understand why we're struggling. So we need to keep going. Our recovery from the oil spill is not over. And now the Bass Ferry, there's just a lot of things that are making it challenge for residents to stay here year round, for businesses to stay here year round and open. So we need to all be involved and put all the ideas on the table.
Okay, thank you so much. And finally, it would be Anne for that question. The biggest challenge facing Cordova in 2021, and what is your plan to deal with it?
Well, I'm going to agree with everyone else and say that getting through and recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, I think, is going to be our biggest challenge, but it's also going to be a big opportunity for the community in order to open up so that we can have a healthier economy moving forward. We need to keep masking up for the time being. We need to keep getting those vaccinations out. Our local Alanka and CCMC clinic have been doing a great job getting members of the community that are interested, getting them vaccinated. So that's been great. And we need to be there to support businesses as they open back up. I really liked the idea that Melina had earlier about a hardship application for businesses and individuals, potentially to qualify for rebates on their utilities and stuff. I think that could be really useful. And we need to continue working with our partners like the Chamber and supporting their efforts as a resource and conduit for our local businesses. And yeah, we have so far the ferry schedule looks like it might be good for Cordova this summer, or better than it has been. And so I think there could be opportunities for, we need to be careful with travel. We'll still need to be careful with travel this summer, but I think there could be safe ways to, get access to Anchorage and have people come get access to Cordova that are safe, but then it also can bring in money and revenue into the economy. So.
All right. Thanks very much. Again, the thing that's so delightful about doing these with locals as compared to watching them in larger forums is the great answers, the focus on the topics, and all of you are doing a great job of that. This one may not be so much fun, but it's an important one, and we are going to start with Melina on this. If the city had to cut expenses immediately, where should it cut first? That's for...
We've already done a lot of cutting. We've already done a lot of cutting, but I think in some areas where we can be proactive in future cuts is the area that we need if we need to cut down on something. One example is we did lose a HR department, which is a department of one. So that leaves nobody in HR, which is pretty important for a city. So this year what's happening is the city manager is actually taking over that position and restructuring it, getting things online, getting to the program and getting just everything a little bit more into this century. And so then when another person does come in to fill that position, maybe they can do grants part-time because their workload has just gotten easier going from a completely filed kind of paper system to something a little more online and accessible. And so I think that's areas where there's growth, where we're investing in a little something so people can either work remotely. It'll cut down on their time so they can focus on other projects because we are no short of projects and things for people to do in the city. They probably are just a little too overwhelmed with work, honestly, because we've been cutting positions or unfilling those positions every year that I've been on council. So any cuts that we need to do them strategically, and we need to do them in a way where we're using any funding we're getting now to streamline work that they're already doing so they can either focus on other work or cut down on their hours and maybe one person filling two positions just by getting things online, getting things in the computer, and just making things easier. So it's not really saying cutting anything because I think we're pretty cut. We've got a lot of grants that we need to write, so we need more people, not less. And I don't see anyone being happy with services being cut. So.
Yeah, well, again, it is obviously a tough question, and we'll have Anne take a crack at it next. Again, if the city had to cut expenses immediately, where should it cut first?
I mean, I agree with what Melina said in that, we've been cutting and cutting every year. we've done a lot of cutting, and we've cut away a lot of the extra, all the extra. We have very little for capital improvements and for maintaining the infrastructure that we already have, which saves us money now, but will cost us more money in the long term. So, it's really not saving us money. I do think in order to save us money, we need to spend other people's money. So continuing to apply for these grant applications is a way to make sure that projects happen in town and things get done with a reduced cost to the city. As Melina did mention, there has been streamlining of positions. Our new city manager has been very creative in coming up with ways to do that. And so she's done a great job at streamlining and, again, putting things online. Something that we've been talking about as a council that's coming up is that we're going to be evaluating our city departments regarding like goals for the level of service that we want to see as a community from those departments. So looking for efficiencies that could be made, finding any deficiencies if there are, finding creative ways to reduce costs but maintain the level of service that's desired by the community. So yeah, I guess I would not, I don't want to see any more cuts made. Our staff that we have very little opportunity to seek professional development right now. So, I mean, we're saving money in the short term, but these cuts any cuts that you make are in the long run going to end up costing the city more money. So.
All right. Thank you very much for your answer on that. And we'll go next to Ken. If the city had to cut expenses immediately, where should it be cut first?
I'd say start by turning the lights off at the city center at night. That would be probably a good spot to start. Maybe, quit buying new vehicles every other year. It's pretty hard to cut any more than we already have, like my fellow candidates have said. And we finally now have a city manager that's holding people accountable and is making efficiency a priority. I think that's really great. I really like our current city manager, and I think she's doing a pretty good job. She's looked at the org chart. She's, pretty much looked at and found those efficiencies, and those have already been made. Just in the last 3 or 4 years, we went from a $14 million budget down to a $12 million budget since I've been paying attention. And there's really not much left to cut, but I do see a lot of, expenditures still that are, they're on the capital priority, depreciation schedule. And so they're being made, but that could be something that could be paused. A couple of years ago, we bought a new garbage truck that could have been paused, even though it was needed. I eventually voted for it, but those types of purchases is something that I would like to see stop if we're going to really, it's either that or raise taxes. I'd rather go without a new truck for another year and leverage outside dollars. And mainly we just need to try to get people here and spend money in our community. So we need to lower our cost of living as best we can by, keeping the taxes where they're at, not raising anything. And then also we need to incentivize and promote property development. Recently, there was a contractor who submitted a application to build a housing, lot development for people to buy lots and build sweet houses on, and with an ocean view. And this council hasn't even taken it up yet. P&Z just decided to take the land off the available map. It's ridiculous. Let's prioritize this. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Ken. And last to Karen on this one. It is, if the city had to cut expenses immediately, where should it be cut first?
Right. Okay. So this is something I've said from the beginning and will continue again. Cut the budget or raise taxes is definitely not our only option. And this is one of the benefits that I would bring to the council. I am really good at looking where we have room in the budget to not cut, but scale revenue sources coming in. And I've got some really great ideas, again, making sure that our sales tax revenue is coming in for 12 months out of the year. And I think that will help us not have to continue to cut so that we don't have to stay in this like survival mode. We need to be able to have those creative ideas to put into thriving instead of surviving and having to cut. I said this on Facebook before. The more we cut and the farther down we cut, the farther down our services begin to decline. And I would love to avoid this as much as possible. And I think just instead of focusing, okay, where else can we cut to save money? It's where else can we go to make more money? Where else can we go to scale our revenue sources? Where else can we go to the budget to see, okay, how can we make this work for Cordova better? And so as far as cutting goes, I won't even go there. That's not something I want to even go there as a councilwoman. I want to specifically look at places where we have room to scale revenue sources.
Okay, thank you. Again, we all know that's not a very fun one, so I appreciate you all taking it on. And that moves us to closing remarks, where we'll do 1 minute apiece. And if you would like to include in there contact information for constituents who want to learn more or reach out to you directly. So we'll start with Ann Schaefer on closing remarks. 1 minute.
Oh, well, thank you. As I've been said, I care about this community. I want to be part of the solution, and I've really enjoyed my time on council for the last 3 years, and I'm excited about the opportunities that are ahead of us in the next coming 3 years. If you have questions for me, feel free to email me, or I can put my information in the chat, I guess, for my email and my phone number, and I'm on Facebook, so feel free to message me and reach out. If you've got questions or suggestions, and happy to listen. So vote for Ann Schaefer. Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much. And next, for closing remarks and the sharing of contact information, if you would like, how about, where was I? Karen is next.
Righty. Okay. So, I am so excited at the opportunity to serve my community and help other people who are wanting to be business owners to turn around and help them and pull them up and make them successful. Again, I want to be on the front lines of helping Cordova build a post-pandemic economy that wins for us. And I've got some really great ideas to be able to do that. As far as where you can go to find some answers, I am doing a weekly Q&A on Facebook Live every week. I've got one up so far, and I've got one coming at you again on Monday. And I'm always available. If you just private message me on Facebook, I can answer a few of your questions. I got several people doing that for me. But probably the easiest way to come talk to me would just be to pop by the coffee shop sometime, and we can grab a coffee and chat about anything you're concerned about or any questions you have. And I'd love to sit down and talk with you guys. So, and again, I'll put my stuff in the chat box as well here.
All right. Thank you very much. Good to hear from you. We'll move on now to Ken Jones. And again, Karen, I should have done your full name in the closer, the closing question there. Karen Deaton Perry, for people who want to find you on Facebook. Ken Jones, final comments and any contact information that you would like to provide.
Thanks, JR. So I just want to reiterate that, if I get elected, I intend to bring a voice of common sense to council, very pro-Cordova, pro-small business perspective. This perspective is rooted with my nearly 30 years of residency here and 14 years of business ownership in this community. I will be bringing my experience as a previous city council member, current harbor commissioner, previous CDFU director, previous BISWAC board member. In addition, I'm a property owner, business owner, husband, father, son, uncle. I have strong family ties to this community as I'm a third generational Cordovan. And I look forward to, facing the challenges that we have, but we also have some great opportunities that I want to be a part of those conversations. And I believe that I bring a valuable perspective to the table and look forward to serving the community again if elected. Please vote for Kenneth Jones for City Council CE on March 2nd. 2021. And I will share in the comments and check out my Facebook page at facebook.com/Ken Jones for Council. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And Melina, we'll come to you for this closing remarks and any contact information you'd like to share for potential constituents.
Yeah, thank you. So yesterday I did a mug up kind of Zoom. I missed those mug up, get a meet and greet, two-way conversations face to face. And since I'm not going to be doing those this year, I'm going to be doing Zoom mug ups. The one yesterday went well. So anybody that wants to join in those. I'll create another event page on Facebook. You can also, I'll put the link down below where I have a link to just get the Zoom link if you're not on Facebook. I know this town is kind of all on Facebook, but if you happen to not be, I have another link to be able to get that Zoom meeting in. And yeah, vote everybody. We have a couple propositions on there, a lot of candidates. People are excited this year, so let's everybody get out there and vote and stay involved, however it turns out. So thank you guys.
Okay, well, thanks to all of you. Again, delightful to interact with everybody in our first round with City Council candidates Ken Jones, Karen Deaton Perry, Melina Meyer, and Ann Schaefer. Kathy, let's go to you. Any remarks in transition here?
Yes, I just wanted to let everyone know that for City Council, you have Council Seat D is up on the ballot, and that one is Melina Meyer is the incumbent, and Karen Deaton Perry is the challenger. And Council Seat E, Ann Schaefer is the incumbent, and Kenneth Jones is the challenger. And then for school board, we have on the ballot, there are 7 candidates for 2 seats, and we have right now 4 of those 7 on the call, and I'm hoping that we're going to have one more before we start. Katie Jo Romhild was not able to join us, and Aaron Stormer was not able to join us kind of last minute, but I will be trying to get their information so that I can share that with you all in the chat so that you can reach out to them if needed. And then I also wanted to mention that on the ballot is also the CCMC Authority Board, and there are 2 candidates for 3 seats for the Authority Board. So there's an open seat there. So we didn't have those candidates as part of this forum since they're in a way running unopposed. But those 2 candidates that are on the ballot are Linnea Ronegard and Liz Sneer. And I will put in the comments on the Facebook live feed contact information for both Linnea and Elizabeth. And I'm also going to put in the comments of the live feed directions. If anyone is interested, there's still time to apply as a write-in candidate to fill that 3rd CCMC Authority Board seat. So I'll put in there some information on how to do that if anyone would like to do that.
Okay, so do we have, at this point, Kathy, everybody that we're expecting for school board, or do we need to wait and try and bring some other people in? What's the status?
There is Emily joining us right now. So everybody else, I haven't checked Aaron's audio. Aaron, could you unmute yourself and let's check your audio.
Can you hear me loud and clear?
Thank you, sounds great. You can mute yourself again. Emily, can you unmute yourself? Let's check your audio.
Hello.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, you can go ahead and mute again. I want to thank the City Council candidates for being with us. You can stay on the line or you can leave, whatever you prefer. But we are going to pivot now and focus on school board here. So thanks everyone again for joining us. And again, we are live streaming to Facebook right now. And this will be also available on KLAM and KCDV at 5 p.m. on Monday, the 22nd.
Okay, thank you so much, Kathy, our fearless leader in putting all of this together. Let me, for the benefit of those who weren't on when we discussed it before, for these questions, there will be up to 2 minutes to respond to each one, and we haven't had to enforce that, but if we do, there is the magic mute button. But Cordovans are classy, and we don't tend to have a problem with that. We ask that you stay on the topic posed in the question and not use any remaining time to circle back or veer off on another topic. Of course, we expect everybody to be respectful, which, again, rarely is ever a problem in our forums. And then the order for candidates to answer each question was determined by computer randomization. So basically put all the names in a hat, and the algorithm sorted out who'd speak in what order. So it's completely impartial. If you have any questions, I guess maybe you could put a hand up and let us know. Otherwise, we should be pretty much ready to just dig on in here. Don't see anybody. So that's not my school board page. It's the one page I need is the one that fell on the floor. There we go. So To Emily Taylor, we would like to know why you are running for the school board.
My friends and I were discussing it, and they were saying that we need some more people to vote for. So I kind of did it out of peer pressure, but I want to be a good influence for our community and stand up for what I believe is right, and just have some more local input. I mean, I have a family. I've got several children. I've got interest in this area, so why not?
All right. Well, this is as good a reason as any. And as I deal with our goofy timer, which decided to vanish here, let's see, I got a magic. There it is. Pete Hefner, you're next. Why are you running for the school board?
Oh, thanks, JR. Yes, I'm a long-term school board member presently. I'm very passionate about education, advocacy, as well as making sure that we're increasing student achievement and making sure all students are engaged in all aspects of the school. One of the things that I bring to the table is additional voice. I'm very engaged here locally, of course, with a variety of committees, and bringing the community's voice to the table. Additionally, I have this problem. I keep raising my hand, I guess. And so I've been elevated to the state level where I can advocate at the legislative level. And similarly, I sit at the National School Board Association level as well, bringing a federal advocacy to the table. A lot of issues come from funding, and our funding sources are the city, which I advocate locally at the city, as well as the state and federal levels. As well as legislative issues. There's lots of bills passed each year that affect schools and unfunded mandates. That's, I'm able to bring elevate Cordova's voice and bring the thoughts that come from Cordova to the state as well as the federal levels.
All right. Thank you very much, Pete. And next we will go to Henk Krutoff for this opening question. Why are you running for school board?
Thank you for asking. I am a retired school principal and a retired school teacher from Washington State. My wife and I moved to Cordova a couple of years ago so that we could be full-time grandparents and see our kids through their schooling, our grandkids through their schooling. I have always been exceptionally passionate about public education, and I'm hoping that my experience can contribute to the positive experiences here in the Cordova School District. Thank you.
Thank you kindly, sir. And after I fiddle with that again, we'll go to Bree Mills. Why are you running for school board?
Thanks. And in advance, if I start turning green, I'm sorry, my camera's going crazy. So just laugh, it's fine. So I'm running for school board because as a parent of one child in the school system already and two that will shortly be on the way, there's really very few things that impact our lives and the lives of our kids as much as, the school district and the decisions that are made there. And I really want to be part of the discussion. And I think that I bring a lot of value to the table in terms of I'm a natural advocate. I'm a listener. I'm empathetic. I am capable of critical thinking and being able to put emotions aside. And I'm very, very passionate about issues, especially involving social justice and equity. And I want to ensure that policy and the policy and the curriculum reflects that. I want to make sure that I'm part of the discussions and that I can, just bring a set of skills to the table that, our school board right now is excellent. I don't really have any criticisms of them, but I really feel passionately that I can bring some good insight as a mother to children who are of a different race than I am and most other people in this school. And so I think that's it.
All right. Covers it very nicely. Thank you. And Aaron Hansen, you'll round out this round. Why are you running for the school board? Looks like we haven't got you unmuted just yet, so we'll...
All right.
There we go.
So I'm running for the school board because of my children, and also I have I've been a big advocate for youth sports, youth activities, and programs and education, and just ensuring that the children's physical and mental well-being is taken care of with having the opportunities. And the Parks and Rec Department has lost a lot of funding and a lot of the things that the outlets for children within the community. And it's kind of left it on the school's plate. So in pursuing those avenues, I felt that the school board would be a perfect opportunity to add my drive and my points of view. And so I chose to run for the school board.
All right. Thank you very much, Aaron Hansen there, and to all of you for the introductions. Now we'll get into some more of the specifics, and the first one of those goes to Bree. It's name one thing not directly related to coronavirus. Obviously, that's on everybody's mind. But one thing not directly related to coronavirus that you'd like to see changed in the school district.
So first off, one, or actually a couple of things that are very important to me are to ensure that our curriculum is up to date, that it reflects scientifically, socially, and historically accurate information, that it's culturally competent, that we are emphasizing civic, social justice, and diversity education, and that we really are telling the whole story to our kids. Over the past couple of years, I've realized the failings in my own education, and growing up through, both homeschooling, public schooling, and college, and, just finding out about things in the last couple of years that, I should not be finding out about in my mid-30s. Our kids should be taught, the real facts about the civil rights movement. They should be taught accurate things about, Juneteenth. What is Juneteenth? Why is it important? There's a lot of cultural opportunities that we have to kind of incorporate other cultures into our school system here. And we do a pretty good job with that, I think, with our native culture, but we have a huge Filipino culture here that I feel like we could focus on more. I would like to get more focus on representation within the volunteers and the staff in recruiting and retaining people of color in our staff. And I'm a natural advocate, and I want to see everybody thrive. And I think that those are ways that we can do that and ensure a successful future for our kids.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll go next to Pete on this one. And the question again, name one thing not directly related to the coronavirus that you would like to see changed in the school district.
Excellent question. It's one of the fun things for the school district lately is that we've seen solid, consistent leadership, and we've seen lots of growth. One of the things that, with the pandemic, what's happened is we've had to rearrange the schedule and all. It will be interesting to see how we can move forward. And I've been asking to make sure that, the things that are working this year through this struggle will be maintained as we move forward. For example, the scheduling and how presently there's great opportunities for the teachers to collaborate together. We've looked at in the past of different school districts going with project-based learning and more collaborative rather than walking from the math classroom to the science classroom to the English classroom. Ideas in that regard of pooling together and teachers collaborating across the English class, working together with math class. And that will be an interesting thing where Cordova is graced with unbelievably wonderful teachers and administration that are all here for the student achievement. And that's kind of one of the interesting things methods that we can move forward into the new year with possibly looking at different scheduling opportunities. That's the one thing that I could see.
All right. Thank you very much, Peter. And we'll be going next to, where are we here? Henk Krutoff. The question is, name one thing not directly related to the coronavirus that you would like to see changed in the school district.
Well, I don't know necessarily about changing, but I think it's important that we take a hard look at closing the achievement gap. As a principal, I can remember often celebrating with all the students that were successful at the state level in testing, but we sometimes forgot about those students that are not successful. And so we talk about the 4 essential questions that we need to answer, and that is, what should every student learn? How will we know if they learned it? What will we do if they haven't learned it? And lastly, if they already had learned it, what should we do for them? So I think it's critically important that we start to close the achievement gap. I know we're not talking about the coronavirus, but the gap would have grown over the past year and not closed. So I think that's the highest priority.
All right. Thank you very much for that. And we'll move on next to Emily Taylor. One thing, please, that is not directly related to coronavirus that you would like to see changed in the school district.
I have not had any recent direct interaction with the school district, but the way that bullying is handled and how to improve the bullying situation is really important in the school, because if you're being bullied, then you're not learning. That's probably one of the biggest reasons. That's probably one of the biggest problems I see with the school, the bullying issue.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. And finally, Aaron Hansen on this one. One thing not directly related to the coronavirus that you would like to see changed in the school district.
I would like to see more outlets for the youth with youth activities, giving the children more outlets, after school programming, things along those lines. That is one thing that I've noticed since I've been here as far as the kids. There isn't a lot of things that they have access to. And I went to larger schools down south, and I understand that the budget is an issue as far as funding staff, but there was always help after school for, when I was struggling or other youth were struggling, and lots of different sports with all ages, starting even with the little kids. And I think it's very important for the youth to participate in these types of things, health issue or beneficial for health and social interaction. And I think that it would be important for the school to find avenues to do that and fill the gap that, like I said previously, that Parks and Rec no longer offers the programming for children. That's all.
All right. Thank you kindly. And that concludes our round on that question. So we'll move on to one I personally am looking forward to seeing how everybody responds to that. And we're going to stay with Aaron here. Aaron will be first this time. What is your view on career and technical education?
I guess the only basis that I would have would be for myself. I didn't pursue a 4-year university. I didn't go to college. I actually didn't graduate. I got my GED at 17, and then I attended that Alaska Southwest Vocational School and started my career into commercial fishing, and ended up in the electrical trade. And I think for a lot of kids, the hand-on immediate learning and focusing on ways, whether it be running programs through bringing kids to AvTech or something like that, and just introducing all the other options outside of universities would be a healthy option. Whether or not that's exactly what you're asking, that is my answer.
All right. Thank you for that. And we'll move to Emily next. What is your view on career and technical education?
I think it's a lot more practical to just be more practical in schooling, just the hands-on stuff, the real life skills. History is great, math is great. They're all practical in the long run, but knowing how to live and be social are more important than the basic subjects to me, because that's what you're going to use in the rest of your life more than any of the other subjects. And I agree with Aaron, technical school seems much more practical for most people these days than a 4 or 8 year college.
Okay. Anything else on that one?
I think that sums it up.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you so much. And now we'll move to Hank, who's third again, but was supposed to be fifth on this one. We have a few people, as Kathy mentioned earlier, not with us. Hank, what is your view of career and technical education?
Well, I think a diverse educational opportunity for students is critically important. And I know the Cordova School District goals include students having the opportunity to experience real life situations. And I know the goal to engage the community in that is also very important. I am reminded that that career and technical opportunities can come in lots of different ways, whether we start at the elementary level and introduce kids to careers, and we have partnerships with science centers, and we go on field trips. By high school, we may have explorational classes that are like electives. I'll give you an example. My niece was very interested in being a physical therapist, so she was given an opportunity to take a class on sports medicine, and she worked with the athletic teams at the high school. After that elective, she chose not to pursue that career, and it was valuable to learn that in high school versus going to a 4-year school and then deciding it isn't what you're interested in. And then also there are preparational programs that high school students could take part of that are much more involved. And where I'm from, some of the preparational programs that existed were students could actually be certified in firefighting, animal husbandry, computer technology, culinary arts, hospitality, etc. So I think giving students a real quality, diverse opportunity when they're in school benefits everyone. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And Pete, we're going to move to you next on the question of what is your view on career and technical education?
Yes, thanks, JR. That's very important. Part of our mission and vision statements is to create students who are, longtime learners and as well as responsible citizens. Not everybody goes to college, and the career technical education part is a very important piece. We're very fortunate to have Mr. Sorensen and Ms. Hottinger, as well as, our community partners are so very important. Of course, this is a very different year. Normally, we have students that are engaged in SWEP programs, as well as working with other community partners and seeing the jobs in town. My daughters had worked with a science center, as well as the Fish and Game, and doing community work there. These connections, as well as we've sent students over to AvTech just to check out those opportunities that are available to them. We have the robotics program that was initiated a few years back that engaged students in a different manner too. These things are all so very important, as well as, the dual credit program that with our community college incorporated within the high school system. So students here, we can always improve on it. We're working now, the district is trying to develop further welding program. A couple of years ago, the high school we had a new schedule where students were able to take net mending classes and do different little courses on Wednesdays. It was a interesting, out of the box creative thinking, and it was just wonderful that our teachers took it on.
All right. Thank you very much for that. And we will finish this one now with Bree. If I can make this thing ascend to 2 minutes. What is your view on career and technical education?
So I am extremely pro technical and career education. From just some preliminary research that I had done, it seems that when interviewed, both parents and kids who were involved in the program were over 3 times more satisfied with their schooling experience in general. It was a very positive experience for them overall. There was a 10% higher graduation rate among students who were involved in those programs. And I think that it's a really valuable path really to diverge either direction, to further pursue your college goals or to head right into a career. I am one of those people who, went through high school and went to 2 years of community college and still had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. And I chose not to continue pursuing until I figured it out. And I know that if I had been introduced to more of those skills earlier on in my life, that probably would have really helped to direct me into the things that I felt most passionate about. And I think that the more things that you can be exposed to earlier on, it just makes you a more well-rounded individual. It helps you to be of more service to your community. It helps you really to be able to be successful and give back to your community in a way that, if people are going through these career training programs here, and then whether or not they choose to go off to college and then come back to Cordova or just go straight into a job here. I mean, we have places for them. We have those needs. We have skilled jobs that need to be filled. And I think what an excellent way to give back to our community and to just make our kids more well-rounded.
All right. Thanks again, everybody, for your responses to that. I guess we'll get a little more philosophical with this next one. The question for Pete to start with is, what unique experience or skill will you bring to the Cordova School Board?
Oh, thanks, JR. Yeah, my unique skills, I guess, I'm very passionate, as I mentioned earlier, and as I say, I always raise my hand. One of the things that I bring to the board is relationships, connections, and networking. I'm all about local control and hearing from the stakeholders in the community, the parents. Listening to the students is so important, hearing their voice. We generally have lunches with students. This year's different, and getting their voice heard. I've taken students down to Juneau to speak to the legislature. I've taken students to the Youth Leadership Institute for the Alaska Association of School Boards. And through all my connections, I know legislators in the funding issues that we face in front of us. They listen to me. And then additionally, I have been elected to the National School Board Association level. And that's been interesting. Back in September, the school board developed a resolution to the Alaska Association of School Boards about mental health of our students. The student government has brought that up and is planning on that. It's risen to a priority at the Alaska legislative level. It's our second priority. Sitting on the advocacy agenda at the federal level, I've added mental health as well. So I can bring Cordova's voice. None of this is about me, of course. I'm just, I don't know, I'm just, as I say, passionate about the issue and wanting the best for our students here in Cordova. They're such a special resource.
All right. Thank you very much, Pete. And we'll be going to Hank next with the question, what unique experience or skill will you bring to the Cordova School Board?
Thank you. Well, I was a school principal for 14 years and a school teacher for 12 years, half of that in elementary and half as a middle school math teacher. I worked in 2 different elementary schools as principal, and those 2 schools were very unique. My one school had a homeschool partnership as well as a parent participation program that was a school within a school. I've had preschools within my elementary schools because I think pre-kindergarten education is critically important for the success of students. So I've done an awful lot in the last 26 years as far as education is concerned. Prior to that, I was a Washington State Park Ranger. And as a park ranger, I always found myself working with school children in the park and educating them in environmental studies. So I think I have well-rounded experiences that could benefit the school board. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate that. And next we'll be going to Emily to answer the question, what unique experience or skill will you bring to the Cordova School Board?
I'm not sure how unique I am. I've been homeschooling my own children for the past 15 or so years. We haven't been in this public school very much because of my own experience in public school primarily, and my husband was homeschooled. So between those 2, my experience wasn't that great in public school. So I hope that I can help bring my view and help improve the parts that were not good for me and make it better for other children. I've been researching my own children's education for many years and trying to expose them to, at least through literature, many cultures. And I want only the truth to be told and, to only be taught. Yeah. So that's a big thing. Truth should be taught, and we should teach facts and not opinions. Opinions are great, but opinions are not fact always. So I guess that's all.
Okay. Thank you very much. Bree will be coming to you now for what unique experience or skill will you bring to the Cordova School Board?
So I think that my biggest strength is advocacy, for sure. I know that's a really big part of being on the school board, and I'm a really engaged listener, and I feel very passionately about, understanding what are the drawbacks for other people in certain scenarios. What can we improve? What can we do better at? And once I'm able to, gather that information and form an opinion of, okay, this is the right thing to do, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to educate about it. I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to educate other people. I'm going to fight for it. And I will be a proactive voice for the community and for our kids. And I really think I have other skills, but I really think that that's the most important thing that I want to kind of emphasize, is just my willingness and my ability to be an advocate and to have uncomfortable conversations, and to always be kind and empathetic and understanding and to work together. I'm a team player. I think that everybody has something valuable to offer. I'm easy to get along with. And I think that, I just think that I can bring some value to the seat and hope that I can be considered for it.
All right. And then we will go to Aaron, who the computer made the finale on this one again. What unique experience or skill will you bring to the Cordova School Board? As I mess up the operation of this gizmo. All right, I'm ready.
Fantastic. So I'm a young parent, and I feel very strongly about the importance of the education and the health and well-being of our youth. And I've been around. I did a lot of moving around, been through a lot of different schools, been through a lot of mentorships, been through a lot of after-school programs, sports. I have a perspective that I think that would be beneficial for the board. And I feel very strongly that there's a lot of things that need to be addressed and a lot of opportunities that we need to give the children. And I hope to be a part of the team to try and make these things available.
Okay, thank you very much. And this time we will go to, we dodged coronavirus last time. This time we will not. We're going to need to obviously deal with that in the coming weeks and months. So, Hank, we'll start with you here on, would you like to see the school district adjust its coronavirus response?
Thank you. I think it's critically important that the school district continues to operate in a very safe way. If the opportunity arises where we are able to resume more regular classes on a regular basis, even this spring, I would encourage the school board and superintendent to take a look at that. But I also think we should be complimented on the fact that we've gone through almost a full school year and have had an extreme amount of success with small classes and with a reduced day. Our students are remaining healthy, our teachers are remaining healthy, and if we need to finish the year in that capacity and look very carefully this summer at reopening full-time school in the fall, I would encourage that as well. I think it's critically important, as many of the candidates have said, that we look to science and the experts to help guide our decision-making in this area. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Next, we will visit with Aaron on this one, and it is, how would you like to see the school district adjust its coronavirus response?
like it's been said, I think that the school district has done a phenomenal job. I've been in communication with a lot of people around the state, and it's all distance learning, and it's definitely put a strain on parents, children, and learning experiences in general. And in turn, our small community has, we've done very well. There aren't very many people in our community. And I think that we're quickly approaching change with our state of vaccinations, the state of COVID positive people within the state, and where our community stands. The way that we moved in the beginning and opened up the school and have made it available, I think that the school district should kind of follow that, forging ahead, and really look into safely getting the children back in full time, and getting the children who are figuring out what would be the factor to get the kids who are not enrolled re-enrolled. So that's all.
All right. Thank you again. Next, Emily, let's visit with you on this one. The question is, how would you like to see the school district adjust its coronavirus response?
One big thing that we noticed this year, well, even as homeschoolers, we were participating in extracurricular events such as band. My children were very active in band until this year, when they were told they are no longer allowed unless we're full-time, which didn't make a bit of sense. So I think that their policies should make sense, for one, and be scientifically accurate. It is no less safe to do, or no more safe to do all of the classes rather than just one or two. So that is one of the things I've noticed. I haven't not really been involved in all their response other than that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll go to Pete Hefner next. And while I find it, there it is. How would you like to see the school district adjust its coronavirus response?
As the other candidates were mentioning, we have been doing so fortunate. Education spun on a dime last March. And the way this year has progressed, we've been looking at quality over quantity in education. And it's been based on medical experts and, science, and as well as over the summer, the whole summer, I spent went to quite a few meetings with Alaska Smart Start, where the Department of Education, started with guidelines, and so to continue following those guidelines. And the main thing is, keeping the safety and well-being of our students, staff, and community at the forefront of the issues. There's no good answers this year. And as Aaron was mentioning, we are, it's remarkable how much we are doing in comparison to the state as well as the nation. I'm in contact. I have monthly meetings in the Pacific region of the National School Board Association. And, it's remarkable. And being able to maintain a consistent schedule too. A lot of schools are opening, but they're closing, and that's adding huge frustrations to students around the state with schools that open and close due to the way the virus, and it's an ever-changing environment. We're learning about this stuff. We don't know how long the vaccines are good for, and so on and so forth. So it's an ever-changing environment. And we'll see what happens as things progress forward. But, I want to keep us moving towards student achievement, and we're doing great things at this point.
Okay, thank you, Pete. And we'll finish, Bree, with you on this one. The question is, how would you like to see the school district adjust its coronavirus response?
So personally, I'm going to say that we as a family chose to keep our fourth grader home from school for the first half of the year. After that point, we obviously, along with everybody else, there were so many unknowns, and we didn't know how we were going to approach this. We didn't know what the case count was going to look like. So we decided to keep her home and homeschool. And after several months of schooling and seeing the results based, or just seeing the results of the school not having outbreaks and doing an excellent job caring for our students, we made that decision to put our daughter back into school. And I think that just like that we need to be constantly recalibrating based on new information. I'm a firm believer in allowing people who make this their lifelong career and who study these things. I want them to be the ones making the call. I understand that these issues impact every single person differently, and sometimes it's hard to see the big picture of everything. But the only change that I would like to see in the response is just, as new information comes forward, utilizing that and utilizing the resources that we have to adjust our response accordingly in congruence with medical, scientific, professional recommendations. I think that it's exceedingly important that our students are safe. And, there's really nothing that is more important than the safety of our students and our teachers. And I understand that there's a lot of inconveniences with this time and that everybody is impacted differently. And I want to make sure to, try to look at the big picture and fill the gaps where I can and think creatively within that aspect. So.
Okay. Another good round of answers. You folks don't make it easy to decide who to vote for. We'll go now to, how about this one? And we'll start with Bree on this. In these challenging times, how do you see yourself bringing people together to address the challenges we face as a community?
I think that listening, soliciting feedback is so important. Finding ways to engage parents and community members, finding ways for people who are from different backgrounds to volunteer, to get them involved in some way in the school, whether it be through reading books to classes or volunteering their time for outings. I think that relationships are really the biggest thing that's going to get us through this time and bring us together as a community. And like I said, I'm a people person. I'm a communicator. I want to hear from people. I want to know how things impact you. I want to know how I can help. And I think just really putting myself out there in that way and saying, like, hey, if there's an issue, come to me. Like, we're going to figure this out. We'll work to make this better. And just having that attitude and having a demeanor of compassion and empathy and understanding that everybody comes from a different walk in life and this impacts every single person differently, and just being kind and compassionate and listening is the most important thing, I think, right now.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll go next to Emily on this one. And again, in these challenging times, how do you see yourself bringing people together to address the challenges that we face as a community?
That's a really hard one. Because with everybody being told to stay away from each other, it's hard to get together. But I'm coming to acceptance with online meetings and chats online, even though they're not together. I think more outside togetherness would be okay out in this sun if we get some. I like to try to be an instigator of, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but of togetherness and let's go do something kind of thing, and try to be a leader for the things that I believe my friends enjoy. And I like to be involved with my children and their friends and help them to connect with each other.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And as I continue to fiddle with making this work, timers, we're going to go to Pete with, in these challenging times, how do you see yourself bringing people together to address the challenges we face as a community?
You know, I was going to say it's easy because it's all about kids, you know, and we all love kids, our own kids. We have concerns about, you know, it's the beauty of Cordova is that we all love every little kiddo that's in town here, and want the best for them. So it's kind of an easy bringing everybody together to look at these issues. And I want to be solution focused rather than just, you know, pointing out problems and getting, you know, ideas together. And I'm always available for people to stop me. Yeah. And as Emily said, these are strange times, not being able to get together and all and chat at the post office or the grocery store like we have in the past. These days will pass too, and we will be through this before long. But it's to be solution focused, and I'm always ready for the community to get input from the community, and I am a representative of the community at the board table. So that's one of the big things, and always remembering, and you know, it's one of the things we used to have a sign that at the board table, it's all about kids, and you know, and are the decisions always in the back of my mind? Is this good for kids? Is always the main focus. And I, you know, at this point in time, you know, one of the big issues, of course, funding, but in bringing that conversation forward locally, state, and the national level. So.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Now we move to Aaron on this one. And again, it's in these challenging times. How do you see yourself bringing people together to address the challenges that we face as a community?
So with COVID and everything that's happened with the lockdowns and the isolating of people and children, the mental health of the youth and also the parents. I mean, we drive a huge factor in our children. If we don't have it together at home, then of course, you know, that transfers to our children. I joined the kayak board because I felt that there was a lack of activity for the youth. And this is right about the time that COVID hit. But since COVID, and through all these months of everything, I push hard to get something going, to get people back in the gym, get kids, get the little dribbler program. And I continually push to get that started, to get people active, to be out and interact and do it in a safe manner. And I hope that we can reach a point where we as a community can take part in some of these activities and be proactive and really help boost our physical and mental health. And I'm going to continue to do that and pursue those avenues. And I imagine that here sooner than later, and we'll be at that point. But that's what I will continue to do.
Okay, appreciate that, Aaron. And we'll finish with Hank on this one. Once again, in these challenging times, how do you see yourself bringing people together to address the challenges that we face as a community?
Well, I hope as we progress into the spring, we start talking about kids returning to school full time, that we can all take a collective, deep, fresh breath of air and start coming together. And I think it's through our behavior, the way we act, through transparency and open communication, that we give folks the opportunity to come together and to share. And I agree completely with Pete. When we make decisions that are centered around what's best for kids, the other things will work themselves out. Thank you.
Yeah. I remember Noel Palace's old sign there. Well, we have come to the conclusion here where we're going to invite you to share in 1 minute or less this time any closing remarks, and include in there, if you want to, any contact information for potential constituents who might want to learn more or reach out to you directly. So, Peter Hefner, we're going to start with you on that. Closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you, JR. I think I would thank folks for voting for me, and I'm very engaged at all levels. I never stop advocating for education, for funding. I'm a constant voice at the legislative LIO office. I'll never stop. I keep going at these things. Some of my big passions are prevention and education, and getting social and emotional learning with trauma-engaged practices. And that's kind of one area where we can really increase student achievement through those particular methods. I am a constant advocate and always talking about how wonderful our schools are doing here in Cordova. But appreciate Kathy and JR for putting this venue together. Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, we want to give thanks to Zachary over at the paper as well. This has been a good team effort. Emily Taylor, closing remarks, including any contact information that you'd like to share in case someone would like to visit with you before we all go to vote.
Okay. I would be honored if people voted for me, because I've never been in this position before, and I just like throwing myself out there. If you want to contact me by email, it's mrseetaylor@gmail.com. And that's probably the best way to get a hold of me, or my phone number is 907-429-3161. And you can text me there with questions.
All right. Thank you kindly for participating with us. We'll go to Bree next for closing remarks. Contact information, if you like, in a minute or less.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to everybody. Thanks to Kathy and the Chamber for putting this together. Thank you, Zachary. Thank you, JR, for being here with us. I would just be thrilled to be able to be a representative for our schools and to advocate for our students. And hopefully, I've shown that I am passionate and excited about this opportunity. I am absolutely open to question, comment, feedback. However, you can go to my website. It's votebremills, BREEMILLS.com. And I think that there's a contact form on my page. If there's not, I'll make sure to add one. That will go straight to my email. And that's really the best way to get a hold of me. I rarely have my ringer on, but I respond to text messages. And, so that's all. Thank you, guys.
All right. And thank you very much. Hank, we'll have you up next for closing comments and any contact information you'd like to share.
Well, I too would like to thank the hosts tonight for putting this on. And also a big thank you to the other candidates for your willingness to serve the community and your dedication to our kids. It's clear that everybody cares very much about the students in Cordova. I would say of myself that I am truly an advocate for children and education, and especially for those most vulnerable. If you'd like to discuss anything with me, I can be available at hkrutoff@yahoo.com. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And I meant to mention everybody's last name there, Hank Krutoff. We will wrap things up now with Aaron Hansen. Final comments and contact information if you would like.
thank you all for your time, hosts and candidates. Then I'm glad I was present for this meeting, found the time to be here, and I too feel very strongly for the youth, and I think that it's important. It's very important to me, and I feel very strongly. And thank you all for your time.
All right. Well, thank you. Thanks to all of you. As always, when we have competitive elections, they are very, very difficult, and people will have an awful lot to think about. It's been a delight to visit with all of you for school board, and thanks again to the city council candidates who were here earlier. I've been delighted to be given an opportunity to be involved, and Kathy, I'd like to send it back to you for the final word.
Thank you. I'm really glad that everyone could join us tonight as well. And I just wanted to go ahead and share my screen here. You know, this virtual candidate forum, this was, like JR said, a really great joint effort that was put together by several entities in town. The Cordova Radio, which is KLAM KCDV, and the Cordova Times, Zachary over there has been a super big part of this, and of course the Chamber, which I represent. And you can also catch this, if you know someone who's not on Facebook that wants to hear this, they can catch it on the radio. JR will be playing it, I believe, on both stations on Monday, the 22nd at 5 p.m. And just as a reminder, I wanted to put this on the screen. There's 2 seats up for re-election for City Council, and there's 2 people vying for each seat. So we have that information here. Melina Meyer and Karen Deaton-Perry for seat D, Ann Schaefer and Kenneth Jones for seat E. For school board, there are 2 seats, and there are 7 candidates on the ballot: Peter Hefner, Aaron Hansen, Bree Mills, Hank Kruthoff, Emily Taylor, Kitty Jo Romhilt, and Aaron Stormer. The last 2 are not able to join us tonight. The CCMC Authority Board, there are 3 seats open and 2 candidates, so there's 1 seat available. And if you'd like to declare yourself as a candidate, you can still do that. You just need to contact the city clerk, Susan Bourgeois, and the phone number there, you can call 424-6200 during business hours and set up a time to go see her, because there's a form that you need to fill out and they need to notarize it. And there's a deadline for that, and it's 5 p.m. on March 1st. But if you're interested in doing that, definitely call them before that time so that they have time to get that processed. And lastly, don't forget to vote. So early voting has started now, and Monday through Friday, you can go to the Cordova Center 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. to vote. And you would just go down to the city council chambers, and you would knock on the door that leads to the city offices in there. And there's a sign that says "Knock here to vote," and then they'll come out masked and get you set up with your ballot. And voting day is March 2nd, and that's from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. that day that you can vote. Again, the folks that made this possible, the Chamber, the radio station, Cordova Radio, and the Cordova Times. And I'm just going to put in a quick plug as well for the Chamber's annual meeting that is going to be held in the same kind of platform, just 2 business days from today, on Tuesday, February 23rd. And it's going to be at the same place at the Chamber's Facebook page, facebook.com/Cordova Chamber. So 6:30 p.m. on the 23rd, and we're going to be doing lots of fun stuff at this event as well. Hopefully it won't just be another board meeting and another Zoom meeting. It'll be some fun. I hope everybody will enjoy it. You can come dressed up with all kinds of garb from your favorite local businesses. You can come watch us give away 5 different business awards. The first time that we've done that, so that's exciting. We're going to announce our board of directors election results. We're going to have a chamber challenge trivia game. So if you want to bone up on the competition, you can look at our Facebook page and our website, cordovachamber.com, to learn about us so that you can win that game. We're going to have annual reports, and we're going to talk about some cool stuff coming for 2021. If you want to RSVP, you can go to cordovachamber.com/annual-meeting, or go to the Facebook event that is associated with our chamber Facebook page, the Cordova Chamber Annual Meeting Facebook event. And yeah, tune in here on Tuesday for that. that's all I've got. So again, thank you so much to all of our candidates. Thank you so much to JR for moderating, and JR and Zach for all your help putting together this event. Thanks to those in the community that came to us asking for this event. It's good to know that you all want to be so civically responsible with your vote, and the more you know, the more you can do. So thanks everyone for being here, and enjoy the rest of your night.
You've been listening to a special presentation on KLAM, the 2021 Municipal Candidate Forum. As part of our desire to keep you informed with the approach of the March 2nd municipal election, KLAM and KCDV were pleased to join with the Cordova Chamber of Commerce and the Cordova Times to present an online Zoom gathering this past Friday. And in order to make sure this content was available to as many people as possible, including those who are not Zoom or Facebook users, we presented that forum here tonight as a public service on your local radio stations. If you'd like to hear it again, we'll be posting the audio on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Cordova TV. Plus, you can watch the forum as it happened on the Cordova Chamber of Commerce Facebook page. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we hope you were able to become a more informed voter for both school board and city council elections by listening to the Candidate Forum on AM 1450.